So hello everyone, today I'm going to demonstrate how to make ink with your gouache paints or gouache paints if you would like to pronounce it that way. Either way, so I was just about to mix some inks for myself, so I thought why not convert it into a video and share it with you guys as well. So what you need is fairly some simple stuff to make your own ink. You obviously need some gouache paint. I am using here Winsor and Newton designer gouache or gouache, whatever you would like to pronounce it. 2 empty glass jars. I like these. They are fairly small and they are easy to dip with your oblique holder. They just like go easily, very easily they get inside. Okay. I have also labeled the caps for red gouache and blue, because when I'm usually stacking them side by side and I'm looking from the top, I cannot make out which bottle is which. I have to lift it up. So just I'm very lazy about that, so I just have labeled it like that. Then I have some sticks. This one is nothing special. This is a cotton bud or earbuds if you call them. I have just removed the cotton from both ends and you are left with this plastic stick. Obviously if you have something like a paper cotton bud, that won't help. This is a little sort of a plastic material, lasts a little longer. Then I have this dropper, and it has distilled water inside. Distilled water is recommended as it does not have impurities compared to what your tap water might have, but if you don't have excess, you can use tap water. I just prefer this distilled water, or you can also use battery water. It's a little clean and helps your inks last longer. Then I have also some cotton swabs, alcohol swabs, not cotton swabs. These are alcohol swabs, just if I would like to wipe something very quickly and it does not, I don't want it to stick for long. So let me just place my cam right here so that we can have a good view of what I am about to do. It's nothing difficult, fairly simple. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, the important thing to understand is how much of ink you would like to make. So I do not usually make a full ink to the top, as these gouache paints can dry fairly very quickly, so I tend not to waste any ink or paint from the tubes. I just make them as needed. The quantity I'm going to make is approximately here up till somewhere over here. Okay. So what we are going to do is, I am just going to grab my red one, the red paint, and I'm going to open this thing and just keep a watch on how much quantity I'm using and what will the end result be. So just okay. So sometimes what you will have to do is, if my hand is blocking the view, sorry about that, I'm just going to like help and get it off there. We will start with small quantities and then we can later gradually add on it and see how it works out for us. So we have this this much quantity inside, and what I'm going to do is take my dropper and add a few drops. I'm not going to actually put a lot of water as yet. We will first excuse me, nicely mix this amount of paint with the amount of water that I have just added to this container, and you can see that I am very slowly, you don't need to put a lot of force or do it very quickly. This is a fairly slow process, because if you start doing that, chances are that your paint might throw off outside the container, that is. So we don't want to make a lot of mess around here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is gradually keep mixing nicely until I have a nice consistent paste. I like this method of adding water drop by drop. This helps in a nice consistent mixture. So let's just keep mixing it very slowly. So you can see that I'm not sure if you can see. Let me just try to tilt and then steer around the little. You can see there is a little lump, but we can get rid of it. This also helps, this much amount of water also helps you reduce your lumps. You won't have as much lumps inside. Okay, so once you're happy with this, we can add some more. And I'm going to you can just see that I'm adding a few drops, drop by drop, not squeezing it a lot or just pressing it hard so that a lot of water comes in, just drop by drop. Okay, cap it back and then back to the mixing. So you see now I can like even keep it on the table and then mix it. Let me just pick it up and show you how it's going. I think this is a better view for you guys. You can see closely what's happening. Okay, there. Let me just keep it back and set the cam back to its place. What about if I can just like do this for you guys? Okay. It's kind of a nice paste, and it's looking really yum. It looks nice, consistent, and the color is definitely cool. Well, it's a warm color, but it's cool. So we can do a little faster now. But be careful, don't splash your paint outside, don't get excited. Give it some due time, and then I can certainly add a few more drops. Okay, and so now at this point we have a generous amount of liquid in here, and you need to decide, or it's based upon your experience, that if you need to add more paint from your tubes. Because if you add more water at this point and then realize that you needed more paint, then you will have difficulty mixing it, because you will be having a lot of water and water ratio against the paint ratio. That will give you a little more trouble in mixing. You can splash your paint out, and then you will have to add more paint, and then you will end up with more quantity of ink as you actually wanted, right? I hope you understand this point. It's just a little ratio thing that I am trying to explain. So you need to be a little vigilant, or a little on the lookout of what you need. So at this point I do think that I need maybe a little more water. There, now I squeezed it, right? And I can just like mix it out and see how it ends up. Okay, so okay, just one thing, you might have seen that at the start I showed you this steer stick and this steer stick. I usually don't use this because this is really broad, and what also happens is that this tends to waste a lot of ink as well, because the ink that sticks to it is actually lost, right? No matter how much you clean it with the jar or with the ends, you will still lose something, as opposed to the quantity you will lose with this little stick, right? So I just prefer this one. Also, you need to see that you have a very small jar. You don't need such a big stick or a big stir to mix your ink. Okay, so now what I am going to do is I'm going to just grab a paper. Okay, so here is a little something that I can write on, and I'm just going to grab my ink and dip this. I will have to like slightly tilt right now because the ink is not up to the mark I want, and I'm just going to have a feel of it. It does seem that it is where I want it, and I don't need to even add water to it. Okay, this does seem good. Maybe just wipe off. One thing, if you are always using gouache inks or gouache paints, just wipe off the excess you have, because these tend to stick on. Although when you run it under water it will get clean, but it will stain out. So it's better not to stain your nibs or your tools with this, and just wipe it off. There's no harm in it. I'm going to put this paper aside and come back to my ink jar and add a few drops very carefully. That's it. That's what I need. And now just mix it. Okay, so you can mix it nicely, and remember, if you don't use your ink for like 2 or 3 days, what does happen is the gouache ink settles down and the water stays up. No need to worry if your jar is nicely tight. This means that the water did not evaporate. It's just the liquid density that is showing up. Water will be on the top, and of course the paint is a heavy liquid. It will settle at the bottom, so you can just grab your stick and mix it before you use it. But if you see that there is no water and the ink has settled at the base, at the bottom of the jar, and it's even dry, then you can just add a few drops of water and activate, and then do the same process. And you just need to see that if the consistency is right at what you want, because it may be that you might need a thinner ink as opposed to what I need. I might be working with a little slightly denser, thicker ink. So it all depends upon your hand and how you work with your paints. So you can just get an idea of what I'm doing, right? I don't think there is a specific ratio that I could mention on this. It also depends upon the pigment of your color, the brand you have used. If you have something which is fairly expensive, then you definitely have a good set of pigment, and maybe you need lesser paint to make the same quantity of ink. So this is done, and we can get back to the ink. I might still need to tilt my jar a little bit, but let's see. Okay, so how do we actually know that ink is good? I cannot see any dots or grains inside the ink. This means that the paint has been nicely mixed up. You can see this is pretty smooth, pretty sharp. So this means that I have done a good job. Bravo to myself. And just a few strokes to just test it out if it's running nicely from the nib to the paper, getting nice hairlines as well. Gentle, my hand is right now very gently gliding the paper, and I'm getting all sorts of variations in my stroke, which is pretty good. So that's how you mix your inks with gouache paints. And we can just wipe this off. Just wipe this off like this and keep this folder aside, and we can use this red cap, not the red cap, the red label, which I have put, and close it nicely and put it aside. And then for the blue ink, I'm just going to show you the quantity I'm going to put, and then you can go ahead. So you can see this is the amount actually that goes in for the quantity that I just made. Just a little more, maybe slightly. I usually end up putting a drop extra at the end. I don't know why, but I just feel it's incomplete if I don't do this. So there we go, and here. And now we can just put in water and mix it and have fun with it. I hope that you have learned something out of this video, and I have not wasted your time by any means, and whatever I explained was good enough. Just capping this out, and nicely tight it so that we don't dry our paints, and keep these tubes aside for future use. There, I have kept it aside, and there. If you have any questions, please leave your comments below, and I will surely try to answer your questions. Good luck.